Welcome back to the Point & Quest podcast, where we dive into the intricacies of point-and-click adventures, uncovering their puzzles, plot twists, and sometimes even their plot holes. I'm Lindsay, and today we're talking about Last Christmas, a short but unsettling adventure game developed by Polytely Games. I'm a little under the weather right now, so I apologize ahead of time for the sniffles. 'Tis the season, I suppose. It's Christmas Eve, 1989, and you, as Frankie, are preparing the perfect holiday for your girlfriend, Betty, at her family's remote mountain cabin. But beneath the festive lights and cozy atmosphere lies a much darker story. With disturbing visions, heavy emotional themes, and some unanswered questions, Last Christmas offers a unique blend of holiday cheer and existential dread. The game left me wondering, was Frankie's fate entirely his own, or was there something else at work? At first glance, Last Christmas looks like the perfect holiday game. The art is clean and cartoonish, with Frankie sporting a Marty McFly-inspired vest, and the soundtrack has that cozy Carol of the Bells vibe, until it doesn't. The gameplay feels traditional, with inventory puzzles and a good deal of old-fashioned scavenger hunt vibes. You'll collect a frankly ridiculous amount of items, including a 2-story Christmas tree that somehow fits into Frankie's pocket. The game pokes fun at its own absurdity, and Frankie even jokes about being a kleptomaniac protagonist. It's lighthearted until it's not. As you tick off tasks on Frankie's to-do list, like decorating the tree and preparing poisonous mulled wine, Frankie is definitely frugal. Unsettling visions begin to creep in. Flashes of death, despair, and violence. These moments are brief but disturbing, and they set the tone for a much darker story. The shift in tone is what makes Last Christmas so compelling, and so disorienting. One moment you're drawing a bubble bath, and next you're hit with graphic flashes of horror. These visions aren't just jump scares. They hint at something deeper, something broken within Frankie, or perhaps in the cabin itself. When Betty finally arrives, things don't get any lighter, and there's a lingering sense that there's just something that's very, very wrong. The arrival of a detective later in the story only deepens the mystery. The endings are bleak. Without spoiling too much, they deal with themes like seasonal depression and unaliving oneself. I got the ending where Frankie basically pulls a Sylvia Plath. And yet, here's where I have a lingering question. I don't know what caused this. Frankie kind of just goes along, frugally decorating for the holidays, stripping his bed sheets, making them into tablecloths and the like, kind of just going around the house and using what's around to decorate for Christmas. I never got the vibe that he was sad or lonely or depressed or much of anything. And I feel like there could have been maybe more of an emphasis on that while he was gathering and decorating the items. He ultimately seemed like he wanted to have a really good holiday with his girlfriend Betty, so the ending did kind of just take me by surprise. Which leads me to ask, was Frankie's fate truly his own? Plot holes or possibilities? So let's talk about Frankie. Throughout the game, there is very little indication that Frankie is struggling with thoughts of ending his own life. Sure, the visions point to psychological distress, but they don't feel rooted in his character or his motivations. I'm beginning to think that the duct tape used for the gas leak is what was causing most of these disorienting thoughts. If Frankie is dealing with depression, the game doesn't do much to show us his internal struggle, at least not in a way that feels organic. So is this narrative a flaw, or could there be something else at play? I guess here's my working theory. What if Frankie isn't entirely in control of his actions? The cabin itself feels like it's something more to the story, with its hidden secrets and ominous atmosphere. Could there be an outside force somewhere influencing him? Something tied to the cabin's dark past? The game doesn't give us clear answers, but that ambiguity is part of what makes this so haunting. It leaves room for interpretation, for us to project our own fears and theories onto the story. Stepping away from the narrative for a moment, let's talk about the gameplay. For a short game, Last Christmas packs in a lot of puzzles. They're not overly challenging, but they do require thorough exploration. A hotspot highlighter helps with navigation, but items hidden in drawers or behind curtains can still be easy to miss. The audio design is another standout feature. The music, while repetitive, adds to an ominous undertone to the festive setting. And the voice acting? Surprisingly solid for such a small game. Frankie's performance in particular does a lot to ground the story, even as it veers into surreal and unsettling territory. Last Christmas is a game that sticks with you. It's not just about solving puzzles or navigating inventory, it's about grappling with heavier themes that we don't always see in adventure games. But for all its strengths, it's not without its flaws. The lack of depth to Frankie's character and the abruptness of the dark turn can make the story feel a bit unbalanced. And yet, maybe that's the point? Life, and especially life during the holidays, can be messy, unpredictable, and full of unresolved questions. Questions about the nature of guilt, the weight of grief, and whether the shadows in the corner of the room are part of us or something else entirely. It's a story wrapped in tinsel, or aluminum foil, but underneath the sparkle lies something raw and unsettling. And as we wait for First Christmas, the sequel that promises to unwrap even more mysteries, I can't help but wonder, will it bring us closer to understanding Frankie, or will it just remind us that some questions don't have answers? Thanks for listening to the Point & Quest podcast. Until next time, take care of yourselves, especially this holiday season.